The electronics store hummed with noise, scanners beeping, customers chatting, pop music playing just loud enough to drown out stress. Maya stood behind the counter, posture straight, voice calm. "Ma'am, I promise we'll sort your return," she said softly to an impatient woman waving a receipt. At the next register, two coworkers leaned close, whispering, "Teacher's pet thinks she runs the place." A quiet giggle followed. Maya ignored them, focusing on the customer. She needed this job, needed peace. When she turned to ask for assistance, one of them, a blonde woman with a smug grin, lifted her drink and said, "Sure, let me help you." The sound came first, the splash of liquid, then the soft thud of the cup hitting the floor. Sticky Coca-Cola soaked through Maya's uniform, dripping onto her shoes. For a moment, time stopped. Even the beeping at the registers went silent. From the back, someone laughed nervously. Maya didn't shout, didn't cry. She just looked at the woman and whispered, steady as stone, "You shouldn't have done that." And then, the glass doors slid open. A man in a navy suit stepped inside. The laughter died instantly. That morning had started like every other. Maya arrived before sunrise, unlocking the store while the parking lot was still empty. She brewed the first pot of coffee, lined up the registers, and straightened the promotional displays that no one else ever noticed. By the time her coworkers wandered in, she was already helping a confused customer find the right charger. "You've got patience like a saint," one of them said half-jokingly. Another rolled her eyes. "Or she just loves showing off." From the break room, the store manager, Carla, muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, "She acts like she owns the place." Maya said nothing. She never did. Her phone buzzed quietly in her pocket. Richard. "Hey," his calm voice came through. "Don't let small people make you small, okay?" She smiled softly. "I won't." Before hanging up, she slipped off her wedding ring, tucking it into her apron. No one here needed to know that the quiet woman running the floor was married to a man most executives only read about in magazines. The day dragged on. Carla gave Maya extra closing duties, "Since you're so efficient." Her coworkers joked about how she played favorite with customers, never realizing she just believed kindness was free. By evening, her shoulders ached, her apron was wrinkled, and a faint smear of dust streaked her cheek. Still, when a customer approached with a complaint, she smiled. The same way she always did. That simple, calm smile had gotten her through years of hard work and harder people. But tonight it would be tested in a way no one could have imagined. And then came the customer, the one who would finally break that silence. The tension began small, like a thread slowly, tightening. A customer slammed a laptop on the counter. "This is ridiculous. I've been waiting 15 minutes, he shouted. Maya apologized gently, explaining the return policy, her voice steady. From the corner, the two co-workers snickered. "There she goes again. Miss Perfect Customer Service." One mimed her tone under her breath, and the other stifled a laugh. Maya ignored them, her focus on calming the customer. But the noise only fueled the manager's irritation. Carla strutted over, arms folded. "Maya, your tone sounds fake. You don't need to sound like a robot." A few customers turned to watch. Someone at the counter pulled out their phone, recording, sensing a scene. The customer, frustrated, stormed out, pushing the laptop box aside. As the door chimed behind him, one of the coworkers raised her Coke bottle, smirking. "You missed a spot, Maya." The next second, splash. Cold liquid burst across Maya's uniform, dripping down her apron, pooling on the floor. The sound was sharp, humiliating, echoing against the glass walls. The laughter that followed felt heavier than the Coke itself. Maya stood motionless. Then, with slow grace, she took a step back, set down her tray, and wiped her face with a napkin. No anger, no tears, just silence. "Go cry in the bathroom," one coworker called out. Instead, Maya walked to the back office, shoulders straight, and reached for a towel. Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed calm. That was when the front doors slid open. A soft click of leather shoes on tile. No one noticed at first. The air shifted, though. That quiet tension only authority brings. Richard stood in the doorway, tall, composed, adjusting his glasses as his gaze swept the store. Then his eyes found Maya, through the glass office window, wiping coke from her uniform. His voice cut through the silence like ice. Who did this? Everyone froze. Carla tried to smile. Sir, may I ask who you are? Richard reached into his jacket and revealed a single silver card. And when he showed his ID, every face in that store went pale. For a long, heavy moment, no one dared to breathe. Richard placed the silver card on the counter, the embossed logo gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Roman Enterprises, the parent company that owned every store in the chain. Carla's voice cracked. Sir, we didn't realize he didn't raise his voice, but the calm was sharper than anger. You realized enough to laugh. The room went still. The same employees who mocked Maya now looked like ghosts under the cold white light. Richard turned his phone on speaker, dialing a direct line. Corporate HR? This is Richard Roman. I'm standing in store number 417. Gasps filled the room. Even Carla's knees wobbled, he continued, tone unwavering. Effective immediately, this branch is suspended pending internal review. I expect termination files for everyone involved. Today. One coworker burst into tears. Another stammered, Please, sir, it was just a joke. Richard didn't respond. His eyes, however, were fixed on Maya, who stood quietly, hands clasped, face still streaked with coke. Then her voice broke through the silence. Please, don't fire them all. Everyone turned. Maya stepped forward, trembling slightly but steady in tone. Let them see what respect looks like. That's a better lesson than fear. Richard studied her, the hard lines in his face softening. A faint smile touched his lips. As you wish, he said quietly. He looked at the group, then back at Maya. You've just been promoted. You'll run this place properly. Tears welled in her co-workers' eyes, not from guilt, but from the truth they couldn't escape. Share this if you still believe respect is the real wealth. But Richard's final decision wasn't punishment. It was something far more powerful. Weeks passed. The store that once buzzed with gossip and arrogance reopened, brighter, quieter, and cleaner than before. This time, a new plaque hung at the entrance. Leadership begins with respect. Maya walked through the automatic doors, not in her stained apron, but in a crisp navy suit with her nameplate reading Regional Head of Customer Experience. The same employees who once rolled their eyes at her now sat attentively in her orientation session, notebooks open, listening. She spoke calmly, not with pride, but with purpose. Work isn't about hierarchy. It's about humanity. The way you treat the people beside you will always define who you are. A few faces lowered, ashamed. Others nodded, inspired. Even Carla's replacement, a humbled, middle-aged manager named Diane, stood at the front and admitted, We forgot what leadership looks like. Thank you for reminding us. When the session ended, Maya took a deep breath and stepped outside into the sunlight. Her phone buzzed. A message from Richard. Lunch? A short drive later, she entered his office. It was minimalist, quiet, the hum of the city below barely audible through the glass. Richard looked up from his desk, smiling warmly. You know, he said, leaning back in his chair, you didn't need me to walk in that night. Maya tilted her head, smiling. Maybe not, but I'm glad you did, he chuckled softly. No, Maya, you were already standing tall before I ever got there. Her eyes drifted to the framed photo on the wall, a snapshot of that day. Taken later by security cameras, Maya, calm and poised amid chaos, standing taller than everyone else. Beneath it, engraved in brass, were Richard's words. Respect doesn't start at the top. It starts with how we treat the lowest. Maya turned to the window, watching the city move. Fast, loud, unaware that quiet strength had just reshaped an empire. Subscribe for more stories where quiet dignity becomes unstoppable strength. What if the richest people aren't the ones with money, but the ones who never lose their grace?